Greetings, friends and fellow rebels, and welcome to the woods. I want to share something that happened with me last night that I thought was very interesting and rather nice. I was out taking in a meal with a friend of mine, and the server, who English was a second language, asked me about something I had just said. And it's an English idiom that I had never thought about before until he asked me the question. He asked me about I'd ordered, and he said, and that's what you want. And I said, well, I think so. I think so. And so he asked me, could you tell me what that means? I asked my English teacher, what does it mean? And he didn't know. So I had to think about it. And my first response to him was, I think so means I'm pretty sure, maybe, I'm pretty sure, but it's not definite. And then he went away to get water to bring. And I had to think about it because I had never thought about why we use that as an affirmation. Because I think so doesn't really imply yes, but that's how we use it, is yes. And I realized that I think so comes from when our mind is affirmative, but our heart isn't necessarily affirmative. So we think so, but our heart hasn't weighed in on it. So the passion, the desire about it may not be as present, but the mind is. So I think so. The mind is with you, the heart not necessarily. So when he came back, I tried to explain that, but I think the language difference was such that it didn't come across very well. But it got me thinking about, I try to use my words very consciously, because when we use words, we're putting energy toward what we say, which is why you should be very, very careful about saying things you don't mean. If you have to build a construct, an artificial construct of reality, if it's the better part of valor, if it's a necessity, if you're willing to pay the price for it, it's one thing. But throwing things out all the time that have no meaning for you, that you don't want to have be true, is not a good idea, especially as we're moving into what's coming for us, what is happening to our world, because our words are going to have much more power as we move forward. It's going to have more and more power as we go. And so you're going to want to start thinking about things. In particular, people who speak in anger to hurt someone and say things they don't mean, and then think they can roll it back as if this was 300 or 400 years ago, or 10 or 15 years ago. If you think that you can undo the damage that you have done by saying things you don't mean, you're going to have to think again. You have another think coming. Because as we say things, they're going to have more and more and more power. In particular, people who get angry and say things, they're going to have to start exercising more self-control, start thinking before they verbalize. Even when they're angry, they're going to have to dial it down and be very careful about how they throw their energy around. It's important. And I've noticed, particularly with joking, okay? Joking is amusement, humor, jokes. That's a separate class. With jokes, you say things you don't mean all of the time. But if you look at the comedians, the people who do this a lot, you will notice they will shift how they're using the energy when they're teasing or when they're joking or when they don't really mean something. The point of a joke is to tap at someone, to tap on someone, and draw their attention to something. We might say something we mean through a joke, but more often than not, we're exaggerating or we're saying something that's wildly not what we mean as a way of making a point. Jokes are not supposed to be taken literally most of the time. They're designed to draw people's attention to things. So you're tapping them on the shoulder to show them something by using exaggeration or being overly literal perhaps, but in however you're presenting it, you're not presenting it in a socially acceptable way or in a way that you want to stand by or mean. That's the whole point of a joke. But look at the people who are good at it. Look at people when they want to joke, when they don't want to be taken seriously, when they want it to be humor. They shift their energy. You can feel it. If you're looking for it, you can feel it. So their energy isn't being directed to make something true, to affirm something, to communicate in a direct manner. There's a roundabout way of it. There's a Heyoka way of it. It's not sunward. It's not spinning to empower. It's going Widdershins. It's spinning to disempower. It's spinning to make a point. It's spinning you away from the point that it's making. If you are energy sensitive, next time you are involved with humor, whether you're telling a joke yourself or someone else is doing it, look at the way the energy's hitting differently. It's designed for that. And we know when somebody's joking because they shift that way. They shift the energy. When people say something to harm or to share an idea or where they're not teasing, they're not joking, but they get in trouble for it. And then they roll it back and say, "Oh, I was just joking. I was just a joke. I didn't really mean it." You can tell whether or not that's true by going back, if you have a record of it, going back, taking a look at where the energy landed. Did it land where they intended it to land, if it was a joke? Or did it land the way it is supposed to land when you're communicating directly? If you investigate that enough, you'll start to see the pattern. There is a pattern. Just wanted to share some ideas. As we move into the golden age, you're going to need to start to watch your words, watch your phrases, and think about what you're saying. Idioms like, "Oh, this is killing me," when you're referring to something that's not literally killing you, is probably not a very good thing to affirm over and over and over, because I've seen someone with power use that and subsequently make it true. We have to start thinking about what we're saying. And welcome to the woods.